most sacred and subversive that humanity have ever identified. But for 2 millennia, religious institutions have reduced it to a symbol. G.W. Carey called it the oil of Christ. Yes, the Gnostics knew it as the sacred secretion. Modern scholars dedicated his life to showing that true enlightenment does not come from above, but from the transmutation of this secretion, produced cyclically by the pineal and pituitary glands. What became rigid doctrine was, at its origin, a map of the body, the 33 vertebrae of the spine, the degrees of internal ascension, the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. Golgotha, the place of the skull, is not just a physical mount, but the exact point where this force culminates within you. The Gospel of Thomas, banned for centuries, reveals that the Christ to be followed is internal and is born within your own nervous system. But you have been trained to waste this oil through distractions, vices, and illusions. This secret was never lost. It was systematically suppressed, disguised as faith, ridiculed as pseudoscience, and sealed under empty liturgies, maintained only by tradition, not by transformation.
There is an automatic procedure within the human body which, if not interfered with, will eliminate disease, trouble, sorrow, and death, as stated in the Bible. George W. Carey wrote this in 1920 in his almost forgotten book, God-Man, the Word Made Flesh. And this discovery exposes the lie that organized religions have spent 2,000 years convincing humanity of, that salvation comes from outside, from a crucified Savior, from an enlightened guru, from a sacred institution, when the biological mechanism of enlightenment is literally pulsing within the spinal column of every human being at this exact moment. Medical science has already mapped the brain structures involved, identified the neurotransmitters released, and documented the physiological changes that occur when someone goes through what traditions call the second birth. What George Carey, physician and researcher, discovered at the beginning of the 20th century by decoding biblical allegories should have revolutionized both religion and neuroscience. But it was systematically ignored because it threatened the spiritual monopoly of institutions. The Christic oil mentioned in sacred scriptures is a real, measurable secretion that your pineal and pituitary glands produce in specific cycles determined by lunar position. When the moon transits through a person's birth zodiac sign, information that any astrological calendar provides with mathematical precision, these glands enter a state of hyperproduction that ancient